encourage if there's deliveries to the retail to stay within the delivery area and head back out the right direction to go. He is correct. There is a lot of truck traffic, but everything down both roads of not only Logan, but down A Street is all industrial. And all the deliveries coming to those locations is truck traffic. And so it's just part of being in that neighborhood. I don't think our retail would actually increase truck traffic by nearly that much, and certainly not large truck traffic, I would imagine, so.
Makes sense.
I'm just saying, but they have the truck sign right out on.
Yeah, then, and that's something that the city can probably address separately and see if we can enforce that in some way.
About it, they even ran the sign up and then the city spent money to put another sign.
Okay. All right, well, is there anybody else in the room wishing to speak against Appeal 22-29? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing, and is there any discussions or additional information?
No additional information.
Derek, the way that the staff report is written is to limit the type of retail to home commodities. The current use variance is for a certain days of the year for fireworks and Christmas trees. So we would not allow fireworks sales to be done 365 days of the year. So just to help clarify.
Correct.
What
And
the
that was
type
just-
of, I mean, home commodities is a wide,
Yeah.
could be, clothing, toys, et cetera, but
And that was to reflect the petition, what the petition stated.
Is that anything we need to clarify?
No.
On this, okay. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Then, if there's no other discussion, I'll take a motion on Appeal 22-29.
I move that we approve Appeal 22-29.
Second.
We have an approval and a second. Carrie, would you please call for the vote?
Certainly. Larry Stilson?
Yes.
Michael Portelease?
Yes.
Chris Torty?
Yes.
Denise Graves?
Yes.
Joel Dendu?
Yes.
And Appeal 22-29 passes unanimously. Brings us to any old business, Mr. Spear. New business?
None.
Privilege of the floor on any items that are not on the agenda that anybody would like to speak about. Hearing none, then we are adjourned, right on time.
Good meeting.
Meeting to order. Welcome commissioners, staff, petitioners, and citizens to the August 9th Mishawaka Plan Commission meeting. We're sorry for the delay. Our Board of Zoning Appeals meeting went over a little bit, and we appreciate your patience. First, I'll start off with introduction of staff in the back of the room. I have Ken Prince, our Executive Director, hand up over there. To my right, I have Krista Hill, our Senior Planner. Carrie Myers, our Administrative Planner. And then to my left, I have Derek Spear, our City Planner, and David Bent, our Legal Counsel. And then we are the Commissioners. So Carrie, would you please call the roll?
Chris Jamrose. Here. Murray Wynn.
Here.
Woody Emmons.
Here.
Sam Cressy.
Here.
Nick Triola. Chris Torty.
Here.
Dale Freeman.
Here.
Kathleen White Geddich.
Here.
Excellent. So that brings us to the rules of procedure. They are up on the screen to my left. First off, we do all of our speaking at the podium. We don't kind of banter back and forth because the podium is where things are recorded for the live stream. So whenever we're talking in a microphone. But first, we'll hear a presentation by the petitioner. For each item, we will ask those participating in the room to speak first, followed by those participating online. There hasn't been too many online people, so it usually moves pretty quick. And then those who wish to speak in favor of the request will have a chance to come up. Then those who wish to speak against the request. And if you have a question and you're not sure if you're speaking for or against, or you just have a general question, I would suggest you come up during the against the request. Then we'll accumulate all of the questions that come up for one right of rebuttal for the petitioner to go through and answer all of those questions. Then we'll have we'll close the public hearing. When I close the public hearing, all of the talking is done back here with the commissioners and staff. When the public hearing is closed, we'll have a commission discussion, then we will have a vote. The previous minutes were distributed for last month. Were there any corrections or additions to those minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, or I'll take a motion to approve the minutes.
Mr. President. Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the minutes pass. Is there a conflict of interest on any of the items with the commissioners tonight? Nope, nope, nope. All right. Brings us to the first item on the agenda, and there are quite a bit. So everybody have some patience, bear with us. And what's great about having a lot of things on an agenda like this, that means our city is moving and shaking. So that's all good stuff. So I like to see good agendas like this. So first off, we have petition 22-08. A petition submitted by Cat Mishawaka LLC requesting to rezone Lot 1 of Cat Mishawaka LLC Miners Subdivision from C2 Shopping Center Commercial District to C1 General Commercial District for a speculative outlot. This was continued from the July meeting. Hello.
Hello, my name is Mike Gilbert, 4209 Gallatin Pike, Nashville, Tennessee, representing the developer. This is a follow-up to the previous meeting, which we had a couple of items on that was approved in the BZA. This particular petition, 2208, is also directly connected to the plat number 2206. So I don't know if you want to talk about that as well or not, but the current property is zone C2. It's a single property. It's got a building on it that's under construction right now. It's our intent to create an outlot that is 1 acre in size. In this drawing, it's the yes, the area that's in the upper right corner there. Again, that's a one acre site. We've worked with staff and city engineering to come to what we feel like is the best proposed rezoning for this particular outlot, and that's a C1 as expressed here in the agenda and the staff report. C1 is a pretty broad category. We don't know what the use is right now for that, so we're really trying to set this outlot up so that we can market it to potential buyers, and they'll establish the use when they want to purchase, and of course go through all the different gyrations that are necessary to get site plan approval and things of that nature. So that's basically the proposal.
Thank you. Mr. Gilbert, questions? No questions, thank you. Is there anybody else in the room or online wishing to speak in favor of petition 22-08? Is there anybody in the chamber room or online wishing to speak against petition 22-08? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing and open it up for any questions, concerns, or Mr. Spear, any additional information.
No additional comment.
And I'll take a motion on 22-08.
I move that we approve petition 22-08.
Second.
presented.
Motion and a second. Carrie, would you please call for the vote?
Chris Jamrose?
Yes.
Murray Wynn?
Yes.
Woody Evans?
Yeah.
Sam Cressy?
Yes.
Chris Torty?
Yes.
Dale Freeman?
Yes.
Kathleen White Gaddich?
Yes.
And petition 22-08 passes unanimously. Let me make sure I stay organized here. Brings us to plat number 22-05. A request submitted by Place Group LLC seeking approval of the 42-lot Vistula Landing subdivision. This was also continued from the July meeting. Hello.
Hi there, Steve Ruby, Marsh Consulting, representing Place Builders or Place Group, 315 West Jefferson, South Bend, Indiana. It's a continuation of the submission in July. The submission in July had a few comments from engineering and planning. So we have looked at those comments and requests and have addressed all those, and we are seeking a preliminary and final plat of the subdivision. Any questions?
Questions for Mr. Ruby? None, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the chamber room or online wishing to speak in favor of plat 22-05? Moving on, is there anybody in the chamber room or online wishing to speak against plat 22-05? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and open it up for any questions, comments, or concerns. Mr. Spear, anything else?
No additional comment.
Okay, then I will take a motion on plat 22-05.
question.
Whoop, question.
Yeah. The corner of Lincoln Way West and Buyer Court.
No, you're looking at the wrong one.
Yeah,
This is Vistula.
Oh, okay.
2205.
Okay, I was gonna say, I couldn't see where that was at in my district, so,
Got it. Oh, yeah.
okay.
I guess my question, it appear, at least I think it appears, that there's two entrances. I'm concerned about the cul-de-sac to the west. There's a dotted line going out to Vistula.
Are you talking about
Is that an entrance,
No. It's an easement
an easement?
for
Oh, okay.
utilities. Utilities.
That was my only concern.
It's good.
Thank you.
Sorry, I shouldn't have answered that, but, yeah, it's easement.
You all set, Murray?
Yes.
Okay. Then I will take a motion on 22-05.
A motion to approve plat 22-05.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Carrie, would you please call for the vote?
Chris Jamrose?
Yes.
Murray Wynn?
Yes.
Woody Evans?
Yes.
Sam Cressy?
Yes.
Chris Torty?
Yes.
Dale Freeman?
Yes.
Kathleen White Gaddich?
Yes.
And plat 2 passes unanimously. Plat 22-05. Brings us to the next item, plat 22-06. A request submitted by Cat Mishawaka LLC seeking approval of the two-lot Cat Mishawaka LLC minor subdivisions. This was also continued from July 12th.
This is a continuation of the earlier item to create the two lots in a minor subdivision.
Name and address real quick. I know it's a
Mike
formality.
Gilbert, 4209 Gallatin Pike, Nashville, Tennessee.
Thank you. Tell us about, any
So-
more info?
It's the same as before, so it's just the creation of an outlot on existing property that we have excess of. So it's a 1 acre parcel.
Anything else from Mr. Gilbert? Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to speak in favor of plat 22-06? Is there anybody wishing to speak against plat 22-06? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Open it up for any questions, concerns, or discussions. Hearing none, I will take a motion on 22-06.
So moved.
We have a first
Second.
and a second. Carrie, would you please call for the vote?
Chris Jamrose.
Yes.
Murray Wynn.
Yes.
Woody Emmons.
Yes.
Sam Cressy.
Yes.
Chris Torty.
Yes.
Dale Freeman.
Yes.
Kathleen Whitegadich.
Yes.
And plat 22-06 passes unanimously. We are on a roll.
Careful.
That brings us to petition 22-09, a petition submitted by Chris A. and Susan Skodinsky requesting to rezone 22-12 Lincoln Way West from C1 General Commercial District to R1 Single Family Residential District. Hello.
Hi, Chris Skodinsky, 59308 Downey Avenue, Mishawaka. And the house was originally built as a residence, and the previous owner had rezoned it and ran his residence and a coin shop out of there at some point. When we bought it, we used it as an insurance agency. It's not really, we go out to our clients most of the time. It really wasn't set up for commercial. There's 2 to 3 parking spaces there at the most. And have relocated the agency, looking to sell the property. All the interest is in residential.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Skodinsky? None? Thank you for the presentation.
Okay.
Is there anybody else wishing to speak in favor of petition 22-09? Is there anybody wishing to speak against petition 22-09? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any additional information from anybody?
None.
I will take a motion on petition 22-09.
I motion to approve 22-09.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Woody Emmons? Carrie, would you please call for the vote?
Yes. Chris Jamrose.
Yes.
Murray Wynn.
Yes.
Woody Emmons.
Yes.
Sam Cressy.
Yes.
Chris Torty.
Yes.
Dale Freeman.
Yes.
Kathleen Whitegadich.
Yes.
And petition 22-09 passes unanimously. Next item, petition 22-10, a petition submitted by Brandon S. Kripe and Dawn Renee Kripe and Chloe Ann Kripe requesting to rezone 805 South Logan Street from I-1 Light Industrial District to R1 Single Family Residential. Hi.
Hello. I'm Dawn Renee Kripe. I live at 11650 East 310 South LaGrange, Indiana. And so we're just asking for this home to become residential, so my daughter can go ahead and have a loan on it.
Questions for Ms. Kripe? Woody?
This house here on Logan, are you going to be living in that house? Or you
No,
going
my
to-
daughter will be.
Your
She
daughter.
lives in it right now. We bought it for her, and it's time for her to get her own loan.
Okay.
And so for her to get a loan, it needs to be residential.
Okay, okay. In that building that's next to it, the kind of commercial building, what is in that building?
Chloe's here. He just does repairs on the side there.
Okay, it's not a body shop then, is it just auto repair? Because that's in my district and I drive by it all the time, but I can't understand what's going on in there.
He just does repair, right, Chloe? Yeah, he doesn't. For engines, not anything body work.
I know there's another auto repair shop down on the corner of basically 8th and Logan. Yeah, so, well, good, I'm glad to see it come back into the residential area. Appreciate that, thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Kripe. I appreciate the presentation. Is there anybody else wishing to speak in favor of petition 22-10? Anybody wanting to speak against petition 22-10? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and take a motion.
I move that we approve petition 22-10.
Second.
Marie and Woody. Carrie, would you please call for the vote?
Chris Chamrose?
Yes.
Murray Wynn?
Yes.
Woody Emmons?
Yes.
Sam Cressy?
Yes.
Chris Torty?
Yes.
Dale Freeman?
Yes.
Kathleen Whitegadich.
Yes.
And petition 22-10 passes unanimously. Brings us to page 2, and page 2 is full as well, which is a good thing. Petition 22-11, a petition submitted by Robert Wright, Gary Wright, Rosalie McKay, a revocable trust and trustee, and George A. Walker and Virginia and Terry DeFrew family trust, and trustee Carolyn Volkin and Jerome Francis Walker, each 1/5 interest, Lane Wright, Pauline Dora, and the Wright family, revocable living trust, reserving life estate during natural life, requesting to annex and zone 14-325 Cleveland Road, Granger, to S2, planned unit development for commercial use. Hi.
Good evening. Greg Sharon, Dan Charter and Associates, 1643 Commerce Drive, South Bend, 46628. Here tonight representing the various applicants, petitions that you just named for the purpose of annexing, established zoning, and approving a preliminary PUD site plan for property located at the southeast corner of the Toll Road and Capitol Avenue. This property is currently vacant, just agricultural land. It is approximately 51.52 acres. The petitioner there is a potential buyer that would like to develop the property over several years, and he's asking to rezone the property, annex and rezone the property to S2 PUD development for a variety of C1 uses, C2 uses, C4, C7, C9, and C10 district uses. Right now, there is just a car dealership that is interested in going there, a named car dealership. The uses could change over the years as the market, determines what could go there. The preliminary site plan shows very uses of commercial buildings with access off of Cleveland Road. And once each parcel comes gets developed, we will come in with a site plan meeting all the different city requirements for landscaping, drainage, parking standards, and all that stuff. We have read through all the requirements, and we are in agree with all the landscaping, the signage, the lighting requirements for the proposed development. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I have a question. So
Okay.
usually, I see the staff recommends approval, and there's conditions of approval. Usually what I like to do is to read those conditions of approval.
Okay.
And make sure that you're comfortable with them, but there's too many to read.
Right.
So you're aware of
Yeah,
the
we-
uses, traffic impact, internal road connections.
Right. We're aware of all the
Stormwater, lighting.
conditions and agree with all the conditions, and will comply with all the conditions of approval
That are written here. Okay.
that are written in the staff report, correct? Are recommended by staff.
Other questions for Mr. Shannon?
The only comment I have, and the printing is so small you can't read it without magnifying it. The building in the southeast corner basically says it's a service station, which would lead to gasoline fueling, and then the recommendation specifically says no gasoline fueling, and so.
Right, yeah.
You are indeed.
Yeah, we are aware of that, and we read the staff's comments. But I believe that the C10 is still allowed. It's just, we'll have to work through if there is on another portion of the property that it could be away from, all the environmental impact stuff that it would be. But
Okay.
yes, we are aware that the gas station, as described in the staff report, is not allowed there. So we are in agreement with that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Shannon? None? None? Thank you. Is there anybody else in the council chambers or online wishing to speak in favor of petition 22-11? Is there anybody in the council chambers or online wishing to speak against petition 22-11? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and open it up for questions or other.
I do have a letter of remonstrance.
Okay.
I'd like to read.
Sure.
Mishawaka Planning Commission, thank you for inviting us as property owners within 300-foot radius of the subject property to voice our opinion regarding the request to rezone and annex 14325 Cleveland Road, Granger. We respectfully request that the land in question is not rezoned and annexed for commercial use. Our property within Judy Creek Estates at 53044 County Cary Drive backs up to Cleveland Road, which is already too busy with too high of a speed limit and little to no police attention to enforce that speed limit. Our HOA, arborvitae trees, and vinyl property fence is all that protects our yard and children from playing from the high traffic volume and distracted or impaired drivers. Our property has been breached twice by drivers crashing through the trees and fence into our yard, and our neighborhood brick entrance was destroyed some years back. This year, the ever-increasing traffic volumes with seemingly no intention to protecting the residents along Cleveland Road. There have been several rush hour accidents on Cleveland Road from the light at Capitol to our neighborhood entrance this summer alone. Vehicles race over the toll road bridge with drivers not paying attention to backed up traffic from the Capitol intersection, which is another problem. Why are the lights set to favor north-south traffic at this hour when the bulk of traffic is going east-west? It is difficult to leave or enter our neighborhood at that time of day. It seems like these problems should be addressed adequately before adding more commercial traffic. We are also fully aware of the city's desire to acquire the farm and directly to the east of our backyard, Lane Wright's farm being the land that we share a property line with, and south to the athletic and business center being developed off of Douglas Road. And while this petition does not involve that land, we are against that future plan and are aware that rezoning and annexing the land in this petition is likely the first step to that end. We do not want a parkway with businesses behind our home. Local traffic to that athletic business center already has Capitol or Fur Road as a north-south passage to Douglas. Out of state traffic already has Beacon Parkway off the toll road directly to Fur Road, which was built for this purpose. Thank you for your time, Josh and Jenny Martin, 53044 County Cary Drive, Granger, Indiana.
And thank you for bringing that to our attention, and we appreciate the letter and the content in there. Is there any other information we'd like to discuss?
There's a question.
Sure.
Before, this was all supposed to be R1 out there for homes and everything, and we're taking that 51 acres and turning it into a number of different zonings in that, and so we're just eliminating residential in that area. Is that correct?
Correct, that's the proposal. So the Capitol Avenue plan that was prepared in the early 2000s did recommend some commercial use for this property, but there's been quite a bit of changing land use in that area. You know, there's commercial to the north with the Beacon development. So it's a changing area that we think is a good fit for commercial development.
Is that the only person that has objected? Is the letter that you read?
Correct, that's the only thing.
Was a letter sent out to everybody in that area?
Everybody within 300 feet.
And that was the only one that you received?
Correct.
In unfavorable?
Correct.
Did you receive any that were favorable?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no further questions, I will take a motion on petition 22-11. From somebody.
I'll make a motion to approve petition 22-11.
We have a motion
I'll second that.
and a second. Carrie, would you please call for the vote?
Chris Jemmers,
Yes.
Murray Wynn,
Yes.
Woody Emmons,
No.
Sam Cressy,
Yes.
Chris Torty,
Yes.
Dale Freeman,
Yes.
Kathleen Whitegadich.
Yes.
And 22-11 passes 5-1. Thank you all for the presentation. It brings us to the next item on the agenda, petition 22-12. A petition submitted by Pierre Smith and Jermaine Smith requesting to rezone 911 North Main Street from C1 General Commercial District to R1 Single Family Residential District. Hi.
Pierre Smith, 310 South Kentucky, South Bend, Indiana, 46619. This house, a house we bought back in 1994. We had a fire in it, so we want to actually rebuild it, tear it down and rebuild it. But because it's zoned a C1, one, you can't get a loan, and two, I can't rebuild a house. So we would like to rezone it, get it rezoned back to R1 so we can rebuild a house.
Great. Questions for Mr. Smith on this house?
Mr. Smith, will this be owner occupied?
Yes. Actually, I wouldn't live there, but one of my kids would.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Woody Emmons?
Is somebody living in that house right now?
No. They had a fire, so no, there's no one in it right now.
Okay, so you plan to restore that house?
We're gonna tear it down and rebuild it.
Oh, okay, good.
Right.
Total amount, okay.
It has a Michigan, there's a whole heap of stuff that,
Yeah.
trying to just restore it is, yeah. I think at this point, it's best to tear it down, dig a good foundation instead of a Michigan-type basement, and, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to speak in favor of petition 22-12? Is there anyone wishing to speak against petition 22-12? Hearing none, that closes the public hearing. Any other information?
None.
None. I'll take a motion on 22-12.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve petition 2212 as presented by the petitioner.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Carrie, would you please call for the vote?
Chris Jamrose?
Yes.
Murray Wynn?
Yes.
Woody Emmons?
Yes.
Sam Cressy?
Yes.
Chris Torty?
Yes.
Dale Freeman?
Yes.
Kathleen Whitegadich.
Yes.
And petition 22-12 passes unanimously.
Mr. President?
Yes.
To vote it, a little note on petition 2211.
Oh, yep, you're right. I said the wrong one. So petition 22- no, I was right, 22-12.
No,
He's saying the
No,
vote.
the vote on 22-11, you recorded it as 5-1. It was 6-1.
Oh. You're right. You're right. Thank you. Carrie, would you please note that correction?
I have it.
I'm sure you had it right and I had it wrong. That's how it works around here. If I'm wrong,
Leave it to a secretary.
Okay, so that brings us to petition 22-13, a petition submitted by LaFree Property LLC, 1/2 interest, and John Pericini A. and Jane L., 1/2 interest, requesting to rezone 3605 Bremen Highway from C2 Shopping Center Commercial and C7 Automobile-Oriented Restaurant Commercial District to C4 Automobile-Oriented Commercial District. Hello.
Hi, John Pericini, 633 Windy Cove Court, Mishawaka. I'm representing, obviously, myself and the LaFree Estate, and Steve Ruby is here from Avonmarsh, and Mr. Tarani is also here if you have any questions. I want to pass out quickly, this kind of gives you might be some extras, the property and then what it's currently zoned. And here, Krista, this one too. And this is Steve will talk about kind of, there's two, there, give you kind of the schematic of the initial layout of the car wash. I thought it might be important as she passes out, discuss a little bit of the history of the south side. Back in the mid-90s, a developer and investor had annexed and brought a lot of this land in from right south of the fuel station all the way to Elmwood, and then a couple lots south, and then across the bypass. And then the city made an agreement with them to extend city utilities that far, which was pretty expensive at the time. And then the developer the company just didn't make it. So there was some really heavy assessments to try to recoup some of those costs that the cities had on each lot, which made it kind of difficult to sell them at the time and develop out there until we literally, when we did the beauty salon and the building in the back, we paid about $35,000 to get the sewer hooked up. But that kind of faded off. It had, like, I think Chris could tell, it's about 10 years or something, it kind of comes off. So that kind of spurred when we were able to get the Veldman property, the mini storage, got Meyer Drive extended, the Taco Bell, as we started seeing some growth out there. Now we're at this point, as we started to market this more aggressively, Drive and Shine wants to come there. They have a long reputation of investment in Mishawaka, as you know by the latest on Bittersweet, and obviously everybody knows the North Main Street, and then this one. There's the site, all the sites out here with clay soils, so make it a little more challenging. We had, Chris, I think, had a couple people called in that I want to address. The drainage, there's a ditch there. We spent some time, used to have about a 100-foot easement. So we had that reduced. It didn't reduce the ditch. It just reduced the easement. It was an old farm easement. And so we've worked with the county to eventually, we can put pipe in there. We did the calculations, hired the engineering, so that water could move and get covered. As Elmwood became vacated, we're trying to move that a little bit to the south just to make the site easier to develop than having that pipe running through a big chunk. So we're in that process. That is going to happen, but wanted to wait until the site plan gets more detailed for the car wash to where we're going to line that. But we've probably been with the county about 3 years working on it, getting it all fixed out so it works good. There was also someone said about a berm back there in the back. We've never done anything with the property besides mow it and sold off that piece there. So we haven't really done any development on it. It's kind of sat there that way. Mr. LaFree, when he was alive, did some little mixing some of the dirt on the main part there, and he probably removed a couple trees along the beauty salon, but that was basically it. So I'm not really sure of that. But we don't have any problem. Whatever the requirements are that the city requires for that development, and that buffers around the neighbors, that's not going to be a problem. As you can see, it's already zoned commercial right now. So, but I think we're finally seeing growth there. That's, the south side of the city also put a lot of money in there. That's supposed to be the entrance to the city, because you can see where they did the road and they put the welcome stuff, and it's just taken a while, but now I think we finally, and the property, just to let you know, the property south of me and south of Taco Bell is under contract right now. Not all of it, but 2 or 3 parcels. And if you remember, when Ken and I and Derek, we went through that process of extending. I know this will make Ken's day too. If we can get it developed, that road will extend right through there, and this will tie this all in to the storage and all those slots. So hopefully that this keeps the growth going. Anyway, that's kind of a long story. Sorry about that. Any questions?
Questions for Mr. Pericini? None? Thank you. Steve?
Steve Ruby, Evan Marsh Consulting, also representing John here. He stole a little bit of thunder from me, I think, but that's all good. He knows the history of the site. As part of the development process, we started with the layout of plan of the proposed Drive and Shine facility, and we're working with engineering as well as the County Drain Commission to work on the realignment of the new drainage way. So as we develop the project calculations for the stormwater drainage and work with the city, we will look to set that drainage easement more in stone and in place as we get that aligned. And I've spoke with John Law about this project as well from the drainage board to make sure that we're in compliance with that. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Entry points off. There would be right-of-way dedication to this to allow for a turn lane per city's request. Likewise, we would work to align the drives a little bit better. This is early concept, but we want to make sure the traffic flows into and out of the project site itself nicely. To the east of the property, there is vacuum centers that would be put in place there, potentially. And then circulation for internal vacuum on site as well as exterior access to the roadway to the south and west, Elwood there. So that will then bring them out to the main light of the Myers Drive intersection. So we're looking at circulation and how that functions on the site. Any other questions?
Questions for Mr. Ruby?
I guess my concern, the drainage has always been a problem. Is that going to then go through underneath Bremen Highway and,
Yes, ultimately, it would end up in that location. What we would propose to do here is look to store the stormwater on site as much as possible with the slow release that is currently going there as an undeveloped site.
okay, thank you.
Great.
Culvert, right? It's a little bit to the north, that ditch eventually ties in,
Well,
we cut back up a little bit.
Well, that was my concern. There's something there already and.
Right, it ties in with that culvert there.
Okay.
So as part of working with the Drain Commission on this, the Drainage Board, we would look to correct that alignment, making sure that it flows properly, working with the city with their drainage requirements as well, to tie those pieces into it, and as well as accept the receiving waters from off-site.
Thank you.
Murray, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else wish to speak in favor of petition 22-13? Hearing none, is there anyone wishing to speak against petition 22-13? Come on up.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm Doug Grawl. I live at 16191 Elmwood Avenue. To have a drive and shine going here, I don't object to that. In fact, I wired one of the last stores I did before I retired. I did. Good job. He's a good guy. He'll follow through on his promises. The car wash itself, I do not object to. If you look at the drainage easement, that is actually Lang Ditch ran through that property. It was very low. It would collect in that property. It took time to get it under the highway when it did. Sometime before that became part of the city, whoever owned that property put in a 30-inch tile, which was way too small, and then started hauling a lot of backfill in. That used to be kind of a retainage area before it could flow under the highway. Since that 30-inch tile was put in, it's backed up several times. The house, it would be directly to the west of that. Their basement actually has flooded, which it never has ever since the house was new. A couple years ago, the county came through, John Law was aware of it, and cleaned the ditches, because the ditch actually starts on Ireland Trail. Probably one property north of Ireland is where that starts, so it drains all those houses, comes around, and the 30-inch wasn't adequate. John Law did try to contact whoever owned that property and was told no, basically that nothing was going to happen with that. My backyard is, well, where there's zoning, I'm 3 spots down. I do have a culvert in my backyard. It's a 3-foot culvert, which always handled all the rainwater up until the time the 30-inch was put in. It tends to back up, and then mine will flow over because it isn't going away quick enough. I'm not sure if a 36-inch culvert would do it, but even if that was increased to a 30-inch, you'd have to allow for a lot of water to get under the highway right away, because it used to lay in that field and drain under you can't just calculate what's coming off the development. There's a lot, probably, I would say probably 30 properties that drain into that come down there. So that really needs to be addressed. which would be a pretty big expense, because what the city has allows for what's there. It doesn't allow, I don't think anybody ever figured or realized that was actually Lang Ditch running through there. And that was kind of, has never been addressed. The other thing is, due to the property not being available, the access road that the state had put in was annexed by the city, and that is the temporary entrance for the storage units. As I understand, it's in the process to extend Veldman Drive all the way down to those storage units, and that way they can abandon their current, which was always stated as being a temporary entrance. And the plan was always to terminate Elmwood with a cul-de-sac to completely separate it from vehicle traffic. That idea was on the original PUD, and that was not asked to be changed, as I remember. It was just temporary access, and once that goes away, the cul-de-sac will be put in. My question is, part of this property is the way it was drawn, the cul-de-sac would be in there. And I mean, obviously the city's not going to pay for it, but if we start, it was a plan, somebody's going to develop the whole thing, and that cost could be absorbed. And I don't want to get to the, well, we're going to develop this one, we're going to develop this one, and we're going to develop this one, but nobody wants to pay for that, because that would be a pretty good size expense to do that. So, you know, take that into consideration. And as I understand it, that's kind of in process. Some of them properties have become available now. And the plan is to do that, extend Veldman Drive straight down to the storage units. That way that one would be abandoned, which would allow for that cul-de-sac, which was never amended from the original PUD. It just, you know, the city doesn't want to pay for it, obviously. Whoever's developing should pay for it. And if you piecemeal it out, you get to the last person, he's, well, I'm not going to pay for all that. You know, it's not fair to give him, you know, expect him to pay the whole cost. But like I said, the car wash itself, I don't object to. I mean, I've worked for the guy before. He does a great job, you know, and he runs a good operation. It's more the site development, making sure that things don't get overlooked that were planned originally.
And I missed your name, sir.
It's Doug Grawl.
Grawl?
Grawl, G-R-A-L-L.
Okay, so I have some questions. Obviously, they're going to have a right of rebuttal that they'll answer about the drainage issue, Lang Ditch, the access road entrance, the Elmwood cul-de-sac access, and the maintenance around the expenses. So we'll have them address all of those in their rebuttal.
Okay, and I know the last time when they did those, Dale had a kind of like a neighborhood meeting where people could ask questions, and the architects were there and the owner, and that was very helpful, and we appreciate that you did that. Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Grawl? But any questions for him? No?
I just have,
go ahead.
You're talking about the drainage of Lang Ditch there. Didn't it about a few years, well, quite a few years ago, they started down there on Ireland Trail and come east, all through those properties, back of the properties, dug it all up and put a big drainage tile in there, and then connected it on the side and went across the road and that. Am I right on that?
Yeah, it's actually the first road north of Ireland. There's a subdivision there. Those houses on the south road, their backyards drain into all them. A lot of their problems aren't the ditch, it's the houses were put in too low, but they blamed it on the ditch. But there is it does travel down probably maybe one lot to the west of me, and it comes under Ireland Road there.
Right.
And it kind of winds around, and it makes a bend, goes under my backyard. And actually, somebody moved it a long time ago and got away with it because it's not really drawn where it's at right now. Somebody had moved it
Yeah,
without.
'cause it came through my uncle's backyard and came along his property on the side, on the east side of his property, and went under Ireland Road.
Okay, yeah.
And it was a pretty good sized thing, and then they also put drainage openings on the property so that when it overflowed on the land, it would drain into that piping. And
Yeah, it
has
flows.
that piping been plugged or something that you're saying it's not functioning?
It's where they're proposing the development, this was way back when it was still the counties, somebody had filled that in and put just a 30-inch tile in that ran to the highway. And that's when things started backing up. It was done without permit, it was done without the county's knowledge, it was done years ago. But that needs to be accounted for, and it does flow through the corner of that property. But it ties into what the city put there, and what the city does, it looks like it's just planned for draining those businesses there. It didn't take into account all the other water coming down into it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to speak against petition 22-13? No, then come on up. I didn't see you. Sorry. You're quiet. Sneaking up here.
I need the microphone.
Stealthy.
My problem is...
Name and address.
Oh, I'm Sharon Hogle, and I live at 16112 Ireland Road, and I share the line with where they want to put drive-ins. So I...
Is this your property that I'm pointing to?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I don't have a problem with them. But in saying that, I realize he said that he had nothing to do with the hill, and maybe he didn't. But they put the dirt up against the back end of my property and others. I don't think anybody else is here to speak on that because they're all wanting to move out of there now. And anyway, I want to say that since the dirt has been up there, my backyard floods, and also I have a lot of weeds and dead trees now in that little area. It's not a huge area, but my thing would be, if they're going to do it, would they take that out and put I understand it's going to be an 8-foot fence, which I agree with. I think that would be great. But would they put that, behind the big thing of dirt? Take the big thing of dirt out, then put the fence in. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I don't make a lot of sense.
No.
I do worry about the oil, the amount of oil, but I guess somebody said they have a way to get rid of all that. Somebody comes and pumps it away. And anyway, that's my biggest problem, is this huge hill, and nothing can drain. It's the same problem he was telling you about, but.
Makes sense. Thank you, Ms. Hogle. Is there anybody else wishing to speak against petition 22-13? Hearing none, we will open it up for the right of rebuttal on all these questions that we've accumulated.
Let me address what I think I can address. As far as her concern, I think what you find, anytime you have growth or you have city butting up against county, a lot of these lands they drain onto these properties until they're begun engineered to maintain their own water. So you can't develop a site and take other people's water on it. That happens a lot in development. We see it all the time. They're used to vacant lot and everybody's land starts draining on it, but it's not for draining other people's land. And when they start building up, Burma because they got to maintain their water and expend quite a bit of expense to maintain your own water on your own site. So it's not draining on somebody else's property. So that's the problem we deal with all the time. The ditch, it's a well-known fact. It's laying ditch. It's a legal ditch. You can't do anything to that ditch without the county's approval. There's no question. There's nothing. It has to be, you calculate the drainage, you get the approval. You can't build on it. You can't do anything without their approval. It's a legal ditch. It's in the deed. It's in you know, it's there. So there's no, you know, not sure it's a ditch, it's a ditch, it is a ditch. We know that, we've known that forever. So, and worked with it. The ditch is not to drain water from the sites, the ditch is to drain water from the properties up to and through the ditch, not the surrounding properties alongside the ditch. We had that conversation years ago. So that ditch ironically is, you know, we always looked at it because it really doesn't carry a ton of water. It carries water, but it doesn't carry a ton. And it carries the water down the ditch to that culvert and then underneath the road. So, you know, those are going to be addressed. I mean, there's no even a doubt about it. You can't do anything without, we've already engineered calculations on the drainage, and that's how you put the pipe in. You don't just throw in a pipe, you know, I mean, you have to do it. I'm not being sarcastic, it's just a fact. You can't develop property like that, you know, you have to do that, especially when Mr. Tarani is going to put, I don't even know what that cost is. There's no shortcut in anything. You know, you build it right. And so we're going to build to whatever the city specifications are, you know, as far as berming and holding our water, we're going to do it. We don't want to intrude on anybody's property at all. We respect them out there. I think this is a great area for it. That's the last thing we want to do is have unhappy neighbors. But that's, you know, we're just going to put it, it's a commercially zoned property, it's not really changing much from what it's zoned. It's just a different use than what it was. It's already approved to put a shopping center and drive-throughs there, which would be way more intense than this would be, way more. Ken, I'm not sure about this. The road, well, he brought up the road. Each development, now Ken makes that decision, but as they build south, they're going to have to extend that road. It's not the city who's going to extend that road. It's the developer. But I don't know about this cul-de-sac he's talking about. I have no idea what he's talking about. This cul-de-sac, you could maybe address that. I have no idea. Sorry to drag you in there.
Oh, a couple more questions,
okay.
maybe.
Sorry.
Just to follow up on Mrs. Hogel's question. So can you comment on the relation of the dirt on the property in relation to the fence?
No,
don't know.
I don't know anything about it.
Okay, got it.
That might have been the previous, you know, but well, I'm not saying it's not there. I just I don't know anything about it. Yeah.
Right. And
She was her property was probably at the time running off on there, and they probably thought they were going to develop it and started this secure.
I just didn't know if that's something you knew. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, that's all.
Right, a rebuttal, additional information?
Next time, Mr. President, I'm going to sit in the front. Ken Prince, Executive Director. This property and development, as you know, goes back many, many years. Regarding the cul-de-sac, so when the self-block storage came in and we had a meeting, the original plan had a cul-de-sac on it, but when the self-block storage came in, we essentially eliminated the cul-de-sac as part of that. And we indicated at the time that we had no objection to a cul-de-sac coming in, but that was going to be a county concern, not a city concern. Because what we did was we realigned the road to discourage cut-through traffic by creating what I'll call it, a jog in the road to go back. And then for the long-term plan was to connect that self-block storage, as John indicated, going south for the remaining property. So as the remaining property develops, there will be an access road connecting to the self-block storage facility that will provide access. So the state access road that currently serves the self-block storage facility can be vacated at that point in time. And they actually have a requirement to connect to the newly constructed access road that was approved as part of the plan for the self-block storage facility. So we know over time, can't tell you when. We heard that property is under contract tonight, but I can tell you our office hasn't received any formal submission on that property. So whether that comes in next month or 5 years from now, I couldn't tell you. But at some point in time, that road will be connected, and that will connect to the self-block storage facility. There'll continue to be the jog in the road. And then I know there's been some question, even when Mr. Grawl came in and talked to me, of where, if a cul-de-sac goes in, where it should be, because I think many of the residents like the access to the light, but don't like the access, the cut-through that's coming in from Ireland to avoid the intersection of Ireland and Bremen Highway. So at some point, that might be a great consideration for the county, but we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to put in the light and to create that jog, and we feel like the circulation works pretty well as it's currently identified.
Regarding the, I would only respectfully ask that Avonmarsh look at the drainage situation as it relates to the property to the north. There was a lot of, for lack of better terms, cowboy earth moving that went on back in the day, and if there is a ponding situation that's been created, that can be very easily rectified as part of the grading of the car wash. But I have every faith in Avonmarsh of taking a look at that. And then it's actually a 7-foot fence rather than an 8-foot fence that's required by ordinance is the other thing that I would mention that was brought up this evening. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission might have.
I have one question. So in the staff report, it mentions the St. Joe County Drainage Board. Can you give us just a quick education on what that is?
Right, and our city engineer might do a better job of doing that, but ultimately, there are multiple entities that require approval here. So our city engineer has no authority to modify that ditch. That all falls through St. Joseph County.
Correct.
So,
So that board, can you give us a quick 1-2 of what that board is?
The board is made up of John McNamara, county surveyor, John, I forget, he's a member, John Lynn.
okay.
Okay,
I
well,
couldn't
he,
quite
I don't, I
yeah.
think his role as a member, as vice, and there's a third person that I frankly cannot remember. But they're the only ones that can alter, top of bank, 75 foot is the normal span for any legal drain. They're the only ones that can alter widths of that and connections to it.
Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but they would approve any work in that as well. So in
Correct.
terms of the calculations being done by the engineer would have to be approved by them in addition to you regarding the flow that's going
Right,
through
it
it.
has to go through our office first, and then it goes to them.
Correct.
Thank you. It's good education for me.
Right.
Anything else for Mr. Prince? No? Okay.
Right.
Any additional information on the rebuttal? No? Okay, well,
Just a question from the young lady there about the dirt pile and everything else that the water's draining. Was that taken care of by Mr. Pericini? Did you say that would be eliminated?
I think that would take care of it, yes.
Okay, so you're happy?
I do want to say one other quick thing. We pay taxes for the Lang ditch. It's right on our taxes, and I don't see that it's being taken care of.
That's a county drainage.
yeah.
It's a county drainage board tax to you.
And it is taxed, yes.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate all the discussion here. At this point, I'm going to close the public hearing and open it up for any other questions, comments, concerns, or how we're feeling on the commission here. Hearing nothing, I will ask for a motion on petition 22-13. I need something.
I motion to approve petition 22-13.
We have a motion for approval
Second.
and a second. Carrie, would you please call for the vote?
Chris Jamrose.
Yes.
Murray Nguyen.
Yes.
Woody Emmons.
Yes.
Sam Cressy.
Yes.
Chris Torty.
Yes.
Dale Freeman.
Yes.
Kathleen Whitegadich.
Yes.
And 22-13 passes with good discussion. I appreciate all of that. Brings us to the next item is plat 22-07, a request submitted by Jubilee Builders and Remodeling, Inc., seeking approval of the 2-lot Jubilee Jefferson Boulevard minor subdivision. Hello.
Terry Lang from Lang Feeney, Whiteman office. Address 715 South Michigan Street in South Bend. Represent the petitioners here, Jubilee Homes. If you guys remember back, probably about 6 months ago, this property was before you for putting in half a dozen veteran homes on it. That failed to make it through the Planning Commission and the hearings. Jubilee Homes has purchased the property and in the process of building the home that you see on the plan right now that faces Jefferson, and they are desiring to split it into 2 parcels with a home that would face to the north on Borley then, creating 2 nice single-family residential homes there.
Excellent. Thank you for the presentation. Any questions for Mr. Lang? Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to speak in favor of Plat 22-07? Is there anybody wishing to speak against Plat 22-07? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. And if there's no additional information that I don't see, I will ask for a motion.
I move that we approve plat 22-07.
Second.
Sam, got the second? Terry, would you please call the roll?
No, he's
Chris Jamrose?
Yes.
Murray Wynn?
Yes.
Woody Emmons?
Yes.
Sam Cressy?
Yes.
Chris Torty?
Yes.
Dale Freeman?
Yes.
Kathleen Whitegaddish?
Yes.
And Plat 22-07 passes unanimously. Brings us to site plans. We are at Site Plan 22-06, a request submitted by Front Street Opportunity Fund LLC seeking final site plan approval for Front Street Apartments, a 4-story, 74,860 square foot mixed-use building consists of first-floor commercial, restaurant space, 109 residential apartments, and parking. Hello.
Good evening, Jeff Ballard with Vance Harden Associates, 1643 Commerce Drive, South Bend, representing Front Street Opportunity Fund LLC as we ask for final site plan approval. You can see the location there. It is just south of the mill, encompassing that entire block. We are looking at a 4-story apartment mixed-use building. The first floor is 18,584 square feet. That floor will have a restaurant in the north west corner. That's undetermined what that restaurant will be. It's just designated as a restaurant space. On the opposite corner, on the northeast corner, and actually the east side of the building would be retail or commercial space. The remaining of the space on the first floor would be apartments, and then going upward for the second and third floor, also residential at 18,790 square feet, and then the fourth floor, slightly smaller, 18,696 square feet. Say something about the surrounding streets. Actually, Hill Street is scheduled to be improved and widened. Because of that, there is some right-of-way being dedicated to that effort on the west side of the property. Along with that, a streetscape and beautification landscape plan associated with that improvement that would be funded by the city and built by the city. Moving around the building, we do have a nice landscape plan for the building and the parking lot that does, excuse me, meet the landscape ordinance for Mishawaka. We are not required to have parking for the zoning. There is a developmental agreement between the city and the developer on this. And so per that, we are providing essentially one parking space per apartment unit. There are 109 units. We're providing one more space at 110. So we hit it out of the park there. Let's see what else we talk about here. Stormwater storage will be handled through subsurface drainage under the parking lot. We are being allowed to, under more intense storm, being allowed to outflow some of that drainage into the municipal drain, but that'll only be under certain extreme conditions. Other than that, all the stormwater will be held under the pavement. Let's see, there's also improvements being done to Spring Street on the east side. Access to the parking lot is only from Spring Street there, so we have two approaches there. We do have both direction circulation throughout the entire parking lot. Dumpsters, in this case, trash enclosures are internal to the building. So when that trash pickup happens, the dumpsters will be wheeled out of a designated space within the building. There's two of them, and be picked up and put back in the building. So you won't see any dumpsters on site there. Let's see. With that, if there's any questions? happy to try to answer.
Any
for you.
questions for Mr. Ballard on this site plan?
I just have a question about the parking.
Sure.
So there's 109 units, and you said 110 parking spaces,
Right.
and there's already issues parking down there, and there's probably going to be 2 cars per unit. Where's the rest, where is everybody else parking?
Well, actually, I believe most of the units in this building are single apartments. So that's why we have the 1 unit or the 1 car per unit. There is also going to be enhanced parking, expanded parking with that improvement to Hill Street. So there'll be additional parking there as well.
Good question. Any other questions for Mr. Ballard? Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
Any discussions on this site plan with the board or staff?
No additional information.
Then I will take a motion on site plan 22-06.
I'll make a motion to approve 22-06.
Have a motion? I need a second.
Second.
Second. Murray Nguyen. Carrie, would you please call for the vote?
Chris Jamrose?
Yes.
Murray Nguyen?
Yes.
Woody Evans?
Yes.
Sam Cressy?
Yes.
Chris Torty?
Yes.
Dale Freeman?
Yes.
Kathleen Whitecappage?
Yes.
And site plan 22-06 passes unanimously. Brings us to the next item, site plan 22-07, a request submitted by Mishawaka Property Investment 2 LLC seeking final site plan approval for a 2,664 square foot financial institution at the northeast corner of Main Street and Mishawaka Avenue.
Good evening, Greg Sharon, Dan Sharon Associates, 1623 Commerce Drive, South Bend. Here tonight representing Mishawaka Property Investments 2 LLC for final site plan for a Innova Credit, Federal Credit Union to be developed right on the corner of Main and Mishawaka Avenue. As you can see, the site plan, the building will be situated along Main Street with parking in the rear. There'll be a access off of Mishawaka Avenue that will go into the site. Parking meets the requirements. The landscape meets the requirements. And it is my understanding at some point that Mishawaka Avenue will be expanded and the city will improve that area over there. So for now, where the 2 drive approaches are, we're going to take those out and just put landscaping in there for the time being until the city comes in and improves that right away. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions on this site plan, anybody?
So the curb cuts will remain until the city comes to,
We're going to take them out and put landscaping
Oh, okay.
in them.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Yep.
Any comments or discussions on site plan 22-07? No? Then I will take a motion on site plan 22-07.
President, make a motion to approve site plan 2207 as presented.
Chief?
Second.
Second, Kathy White, got it. Carrie, would you please call for the vote?
Chris Jamrose?
Yes.
Murray Nguyen?
Yes.
Woody Evans?
Yes.
Sam Cressy?
yes.
Chris Torty?
Yes.
Dale Freeman?
Yes.
Kathleen Whitecappage?
Yes.
And site plan 22-07 passes unanimously. Brings us to the last item on the agenda, site plan 22-08, a request submitted by All Secure Storage, County Road 17 LLC, seeking final site plan approval for an 84,000 square foot 6-building mini self-storage facility at 16966 State Road 23.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Hughes. I'm from Surveying and Mapping LLC. We are the land surveyor and civil engineer for the project. The property is located south of the toll road overpass on State Road 23. There are 2 parcels that the northern one has a house that's been abandoned, and then the south parcel was used for agriculture. The two parcels together would be developed with 6 proposed storage unit buildings, one in Phase 2 and 5 in Phase 1. On-water stormwater retention at the east edge of the site. 1 access point to State Road 23, and we did receive the NDOT driveway permit for that today. We've been working with the city review agencies. The fire department made several requests, an additional fire hydrant, and they also asked that the southernmost building have an opening in the middle. So the site plan you see there, there's a division in the building right in the middle, and that allows the fire department to get proper access to the south side of the building. So that change was made. The engineering department asks for some soil testing, which we've ordered and is in progress. So we're not able to address all the engineering comments today, but we would request approval conditional upon receiving engineering approval when we get the soil testing. With me is the owner's representative also, if there's any questions about the operations. Thank you for considering this petition.
Thank you for the presentation. Questions for Ms. Hughes on this presentation? No questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments? None? Let's have a motion on site plan 22-08.
I'll make a motion to approve site plan 22-08.
We have a motion,
Second.
and we have a second. Carrie, would you please call for the vote?
Chris Chamrose?
Yes.
Excuse me, Murray Wynn?
Yes.
Woody Evans?
Yes.
Sam Cressy?
Yes.
Chris Torty?
Yes.
Dale Freeman?
Yes.
Kathleen Whitegaddish?
Yes.
And site plan 22-08 passes unanimously. That was the last item on the agenda. City planner, is there any old business?
None.
Any new business?
None.
Any privilege of the floor items that are not on the agenda items? Hearing none, then we are adjourned. Thank you.